So it's summer and I'm dressed like it. Hope that's okay. Welcome to the video, guys. Today we're talking yet again about this, the Canon EOS R. I'm sorry, I know a couple of videos ago I made a video again about the EOS R and I said this is gonna be the last EOS R video I'm making for quite some time, but then something happened. It was kind of a miracle in a way. In a video further back, kind of a long time ago, I told you guys that my Canon EOS RP, the camera body, and the lens, the 24-105 f4L version, it's the RF edition, so that wasn't cheap. Both of those got stolen in the mail. I thought they got stolen in the mail. Stolen, lost, they're both the same to me because I didn't have them. USPS sent me 2 tracking numbers for the package. One because I sent it out originally, and then I realized, oh crap, wait, I really shouldn't have done that, and then long story, but I had to intercept the package, so I paid 50 bucks to have the shipping company grab that box that was in transit and to haul it back to me at a post office. So every single day I would check the tracking number, check what status of the shipment it was in, what part of the process that it was going through, and then one day, the tracking number went void. And then I tried the other one, that one went void too, and my package was just gone in the wind. And then once coronavirus hit and the country kind of shut down, I was like, yep, there goes $2,000. I am never getting that back. And then yesterday, I get a picture from my boss over at the Ninja Warrior gym, and it's a picture of the box that I sent out with the Canon EOS RP, and I was like, wait, that can't be it. And apparently it was sent back to my place of work as opposed to being sent back to a post office where I was supposed to be. But I'm not complaining because now I have 2 cameras. We're shooting on my lost baby that has returned to me, the EOS RP and the 24-105. Man, it feels good to have that back again in my hand. So that's why we're making another EOS R video. We're gonna be comparing today what the cameras can do, the EOS R versus the Canon EOS RP. We're gonna talk specs and on-paper things, and then we're gonna go out and do some shooting with it, do some comparisons, kind of like how we did with my EOS R in 2020 video. So if you want to go check that out, feel free to click right here. But let's get started without any further ado. So if you've watched my channel before, or if you've seen some videos on the EOS R, which I'm guessing most of you have, Canon EOS R, there's a lot going on in here. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about the EOS R because I've already done a lot of that. But the EOS RP, this camera was released a year after this guy was. And before we knew what it could do and the specs and everything, before Canon released that information, people were speculating that this would be the professional model to accommodate those pro shooters who wanted to switch over to the Canon EOS R line and the RF lens lineup, but it didn't happen that way. So the EOS RP is an even more beginner entry-level version of the EOS R. It's smaller, can't do quite as much. It still is a very powerful tool, and it is the cheapest full-frame mirrorless camera that you can find on the market, which is what makes it so appealing to so many individuals, whether they're trying to shoot some videos, make films, or take photos. So just to compare and contrast some of the specs, the EOS R has 32 megapixels, the EOS RP has 26.1 megapixels. It's kind of similar to Fujifilm's X-T3 and X-T4 cameras, I suppose the X-T2, because they haven't really changed their sensor all that much. So 26 megapixels, that's still a very impressive image you're gonna be getting, and it is more megapixels than the Sony a7 III. But of course, megapixels certainly are not everything. And so with some of the other things that this camera is capable of, it can do 1080p in lower quality codecs, so it's the standard IPB as opposed to the Canon EOS R having the all-I. What this basically means is that the EOS RP is capable of recording video at a lower bit rate, so you're not getting as much information in the data and in the file that you're recording. However, this does preserve space. It gives you more hard drive space, more SD card space, and it's a more economical way to shoot. One thing that I found pretty interesting is that even though Jesse Driftwood owns the EOS R, he chooses to shoot in the IPB codec, which is only available on the RP, but he chooses to do that on the R most of the time. So to me, that's kind of funny. One of the biggest reasons why I would recommend you to pick the R over the RP is because of its all-I codec capability. But in the grand scheme of things, especially with color grading this footage, working with the RP's footage, I don't know if the on-paper specs of having an incredible bit rate truly translates to how the image looks and what quality of an image you're getting. I think certainly that is mostly dependent on what your lighting setup is, what glass and lenses you are currently using, and the way in which you're color grading. So there are so many factors that contribute to the image that are outside of a bit rate. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. But yeah, it takes incredible, stunning photos. When I compared them side to side, it was extraordinarily hard to tell which one was which. The only way you're kind of really able to determine and to choose, like, oh, this is the EOS R, is if you have a picture and you zoom in super far. But other than that, if you're not planning to crop your images like a madman, if you're taking the raw photos and you're working with them in Lightroom, pulling the highlights, lifting the shadows, whatnot, and making your general corrections with color, you're not going to be able to really tell a huge difference between the Canon EOS R and the RP. I think they're both very capable of taking professional quality images for weddings, for landscapes, portraits, you name it, it can do it except for sports. And that's not because of the image quality of the picture that you're getting, but it's just simply because of how fast these cameras can take the images. And I guess that would extend to wildlife photography as well. If you have a camera that can take like 15, 20 frames per second, as far as raw photos being taken, then you're gonna have a lot more options to select what moment in time you want to extract from that batch of photos you get. With the R and RP, I know we're comparing and contrasting, you really have to be super precise as to when you hit that shutter button, because it's not very forgiving. I've tried to do an action move with some people I've taken photos of, and many times shooting with the R, I've had to be like, oh, go back, try that one more time. I missed the action, we gotta do that again. And so if that's something you're willing to deal with, then I have no complaints in the photo realm with both. Then I have no complaints in the photo realm with either of these cameras. But do keep in mind that photo is not my primary use of cameras. I'm mostly a video guy. Dynamic range is something interesting that I like to talk about. The Canon EOS R obviously has C-Log, and the RP does not. It's not built in. You can't ship it off to Canon and receive your camera back with C-Log installed, so there's nothing you can do about that. However, we did install the Technicolor CineStyle profile that is pretty famous for Canon DSLRs and the entry-level options in being able to have a flat color profile that's similar to log to grade. And so yes, we're shooting them with that now, and that's the only color profile we use to shoot video in. With the photos, we shot in the portrait color profiles for both of the cameras. But what I noticed with Technicolor CineStyle is that it certainly does give you much more highlight information and shadow retention than if you were to shoot in the standard picture profile or even the neutral profile. I would say unscientifically, it's about an extra stop of dynamic range you're getting, but it's simply just, you can't beat it with the EOS R. And in a lot of these images, you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. So let me just play some video clips for you guys. We recorded in both cameras, and for the R, we did use the all-eye codec. So just keep in mind that there is a higher bitrate on this camera, and we used C-Log, so it's gonna have more dynamic range. I think it's fair that we did that because those are simply just built-in tools that this camera has, so you might as well be using them and taking advantage of those things. And with the RP, we did use the IPB mode. At least we were in standard as opposed to being in the light, which cuts off even more information. So never use the light IPB. There's simply just no reason to, because you want to just be aware that the option you're given, IPB, standard, is already a compromise in itself. I hope you guys enjoy these clips, and let me know what you think in the comment section below, comparing and contrasting the two. So next up is a rolling shutter test. These cameras are not anything to write home about in that regard. Although in 1080p, they both seem to do a pretty good job with controlling how much rolling shutter there is. Rolling shutter is to what degree vertical things in the frame become not vertical and warped. And so as you accelerate your movement speed, rolling shutter tends to get worse. And again, in 1080p, I think rolling shutter is certainly controllable. And it's certainly usable. But when we switched the cameras into 4K mode, you guys will hear me audibly gasp at how bad both of these cameras are with rolling shutter. Although I do think the EOS R has slightly better rolling shutter capabilities, than the EOS RP, but they're both just really bad, and they kind of look unprofessional. So if you want to use 4K on either of these cameras, make sure it's on the sticks, make sure you have that tripod, and you're not panning and running and gunning. so bad. Look at that. Not bad, not bad. Overall, oh, it's so bad. Look at that shit. What the heck? As far as autofocus goes, the EOS R has more AF points than the RP does, but I didn't really see that translate to an increase in performance over the RP. And what I mean by that is both cameras autofocus and they snap on to faces, eyes, objects, and they're able to adjust very quickly and responsively. And so I didn't see a change. And so I think that if you have the same matching autofocus settings on both cameras, I think they're gonna perform nearly equally. You might see like a split second, just milliseconds of an advantage with the EOS R, but if excellent autofocus is one of the things that you're looking for in a camera, that's not gonna be a determining factor between choosing the EOS RP or the R. Battery life is something that's interesting here. Obviously the R has a bigger battery. Let me show you. It carries the LPE6 batteries, and the RP uses the much smaller LPE17 batteries. So they are newer batteries, even though they are smaller. And when it came to shooting all day with these cameras, the battery life was pretty matched. Obviously the EOS R had a little bit more battery life in it, but I think with the fact that the LPE17 is newer than the LPE6, but also the EOS RP has less demanding tasks like 4K with dual pixel autofocus, all-eye codecs, C-Log. There's less going on in the EOS RP, so I don't think that it's drawing as much power from the battery as the R is from its LPE6. And so all that to say that the battery life is pretty matched, although you're gonna wanna carry a few spares on you. One thing that I do like about the RP is that there are third-party battery grip options that are actually pretty good. They work fairly well. With the RP, I was able to film 6 hours straight with only one battery change. Now granted, that is needing to use 4 batteries, but I could record and make sure that I was recording without having to cut, put in another single battery, and then continue rolling. I think the battery grip option is super affordable. It's like 60 bucks because I got rid of it when my RP disappeared and whatnot. The EOS R, I've looked, there are no third-party battery grip options for this camera, so if you want to extend your battery life and have that vertical grip available to you, you're gonna have to drop 200 bucks on that. So in my opinion, the EOS RP is the battery winner, but if you can afford a battery grip for the R, and if maybe you were a Canon shooter before with like the 5D series cameras, then you'll probably already have some spare batteries lying around. And kind of the last thing that I want to talk about is just with the grip. So the R is bigger than the RP, and that allows you to wrap all of your fingers relatively comfortably around the camera body. So your pinky is on, your thumb sits comfortably, your pointer finger is in the right spot. Now, I guess this isn't a part of the grip, but one thing that is kind of subconsciously not great is the touch bar. And before I got my RP back, I actually liked the touch bar. I liked having the ability to control my Kelvin and slide that with my thumb. But when I got the RP back, I realized just how easy it is to shift off to like 2600 Kelvin if you're in broad sunlight. And obviously that's not good. And so basically there are 2 main reasons why I like handling the EOS RP more than I like handling the EOS R. And this one's interesting. The grip texture, I don't know what material it's made out of, but the main primary grip texture that's on the handle of the EOS R feels completely different than my RP. This could be this specific manufactured model. When I pick up my R, maybe I could try this out on my friend Tim's. Maybe if his is the same way, then I can test that out. But my RP, the silicone, whatever this material is in fact grippier than the EOS R. Your fingers stick to it in a good way, not in like a weird or gross way, and you're comfortable holding it knowing that you're not going to drop it. So yes, the grip on the R is bigger and it also goes deeper, so you can get a pretty good grip on it, but I think that with the RP, even though your fingers kind of have to be closer together, and if you have big hands, you might have to wrap your pinky underneath the camera, even though that is a thing, the actual material that you grip, for me and my model specifically, it's just a lot easier to hold it and I don't feel like I'm gonna drop it if I'm walking around without a strap or without it being mounted to something. So yeah, there are a lot of things going on with both of these cameras, tons of reasons why you might wanna get the RP over the R and vice versa. If you're trying to save some money and if you aren't super serious in making videos for any purposes beyond social media, I would highly recommend the EOS RP. But if you do want the more, I guess, premium options that the R has, you just can't get that with the RP. And so currently the RP is going for around 900 bucks. And you can get it cheaper than that if you buy used. And the R is around $1,800 new, but I got mine for $1,400 used. So bear that in mind. You are paying $500 for some more premium features, but in some cases it certainly can be worth it. I hope you guys like this video. It's been a fun one, and I think, yes, we are wrapping up our days making videos of this specific EOS R camera. Again, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Drop a like, share this video with your friends if you found it interesting. That helps my channel out a ton. We'll catch you guys in the next video, and feel free to check out my Patreon page if that interests you.